Hey, what is going on, YouTube? Aaron here. We are back, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you guys are having a fantastic day there, and we've got an educational one for you guys here in today's video. And in this video, we are talking all about commanders. As you guys can see, we are on our newer free-to-play account here. It's not necessarily free-to-play, as we whaled a few crates, and I will actually include a link to that video. It was a fun one. And this video is definitely geared more towards my newer players, kind of recently, who got the game, ranking up commanders, what to do, what not to do. But that is what we are talking about in this video, as we just reached level 7 here, and we were able to equip a commander to our Albany here. Now, I want to make this statement before we kind of get into the, what to do, what not to do, ranking up that commander and kind of the basics of it. Commanders are not going to make or break your experience in this game. They will certainly help it, on both ends of the spectrum, right? If you're going against a very advanced player with a high-level commander who knows what they're doing, and you have no idea, and you don't have the highest commander, etc., you may get slapped. And the inverse is also true. If you have a high-level commander, you pay for the most stuff, but you still don't know what you're doing, it's not going to give you that ultimate edge. Now, that being said, commanders can certainly influence this game, but as I mentioned, if you learn the game first, how to position, where to position, what to do, etc. Then you kind of worry about, the pay-to-win aspect, quote-unquote, and I hate that term because even with the best commander that costs the most money and the best ship, you can still get 8 spuds on your team who are going to ruin that experience for you. But anyway, it's just a game, and that's kind of a little, nuance point that I just wanted to include there. But anyway, without further ado, let's get into assigning our very first commander here. Now, again, before we actually get into that, each nation, right, has a jack of all trades commander, as you can see, and that is the first one you actually unlock. And looking at that commander, now it is labeled a cruiser commander, but this commander is essentially kind of the base commander that is a jack of all trades. If you look at it, there's not each, perk isn't necessarily tailor-made for cruisers. It's kind of, just there for you to put on any ship that you may get. Destroyer, battleship, even aircraft carrier. As you can see, there's a few. There's one, I believe here. Yeah, aircraft carriers, AP bombs. So as you can see, each nation has a jack of all trades commander. And a mistake I feel like a lot of us players made when we were first, getting into this game is leveling up this commander or trying to max out this commander when they really don't have a good overall skill set for even 1 or 2 particular ships. So once you kind of, and you definitely want to rank up this commander, just not all the way, I guess is the point we're trying to make on that one. But once you, pick a class or a line of ships, destroyers, cruisers, or battleships, for example, find a commander that you think is going to work better for you. And we're going to talk briefly about which, there's essentially 2 types of commander, offensive and defensive to a certain extent, for all nations there, or all classes of ships, rather. And then you can, kind of base your decisions off of that. I know that was as clear as mud, but trust me, it'll make more sense once you, get a little bit further along into the game. So right here, we are going to show you guys how to rank up commander. It's pretty simple. You select it, right? We are selecting George Dewey here. He is a level 1 rank, or level 1 legendary rank 0. So you're going to go ahead and press X or square on the worst console there. And as you can see, this is your base trait. Now your base trait is assigned, It is regardless of what you select here. So we are always going to get torpedo acquisition range, and throughout the game you just kind of have to learn what those means, but for this one I believe it is spotting torpedoes a little bit further on. So certain torpedoes have a distance at which they will come into view, pending a few other things like sonar, etc. But with this perk active, you get a better acquisition of those. Now something... let's go to a commander that probably has something a little bit easier to understand. What does he have? Yeah, so cooldown time for all consumables. When you have this commander, and as you can see, the further you upgrade him, the better the cooldown time for your consumables will be. So certain commanders have damage, damage added to your AP, to your HE, to your torpedoes, etc. So selecting those is going to kind of gear what type of build you have. For example, you guys have seen me run the Venezia with what I call a damage build. We have, and those are our inspirations. Those are focused on increase damage with our shells and increase reload, right? So the faster you get the shells off and the more damage they do, the more damage you get, right? That is kind of probably the most common build in this game, and we're going to do a whole video dedicated to builds, but let's get back to selecting Mr. Dewey here. So once you have him selected, right, rank 1, legend 0, and your legend is this little icon down here. Shout out to good old Saul Goodman who couldn't quite figure that out. But in order to rank him up, you will need Commander XP. Now, this is something that I wish I would have known. Can I make my camera a little bit smaller there? Yeah, so you guys can maybe see the full screen. I realized I blocked some stuff off. Commander XP, right, is what you're going to want to use. Now, you can see at the bottom here, actually, let's hide myself so you guys can see it. Available resources. Well, it says 20k of Commander XP and 80k of global XP. Now, what does that mean? Well, global is this little green XP up here, and it can be used for a plethora of things. Now, something, like I mentioned, that I didn't know as a newer player, and a lot of us found this out the hard way, global will take the place of your Commander XP once you run out of Commander XP. And we're going to show you that in just a second here. But in order to rank up a Commander, very basically, you're just going to go down to the level. As you can see, we only have enough resources to rank him up to level 4. So we're going to go ahead and do that. And as you can see, now we have unlocked each row, and we've unlocked an achievement as well. First step, promote a Commander to rank 2. So, and this is kind of where it gets into personal preference, personal choice, but something you wouldn't want to do, for example, right, is select contact is imminent for cruisers, especially American cruisers, because they don't even have torpedoes. So you want to make sure that even in the beginning here, you are selecting perks that apply to your ship. So for example, Burn It Down XXL increases the chance of HE shells and bombs causing fire. So this could work for both aircraft carriers, technically, and cruisers, but because we only have a level 1 cruiser here, we're going to select the Burn It Down XXL perk. On top of that, I would probably select turret traverse speed or concealment here, as concealment is always good. I didn't really think that when I first started the game, and it's truthfully not that important in standard lobbies. It is in more competitive and ranked, etc. But you would select something here, and then again, back in stock, torpedo launcher reload time would be a completely wasted perk because I don't have torpedoes. So in this perk, we would probably choose movement speed because there's just sometimes, this is one of those, right? We talked about that base commander. There's not really a better option in this slot, so we're just going to go ahead and increase our movement speed. And this is, speaking on the different build types, the different colored icons sort of tell you what those are for, right? The blue ones, or I guess they're green rather, those are more geared towards either ship movement or defensive perks. And what we mean by that, defensive perks, as you can see here, the chance for HE shells to cause fire, turret traverse speed, torpedo launcher reload time, those are more offensive perks. Now, you don't have to go down the line here and select every red perk, because as we mentioned, this one wouldn't apply to our cruisers up until, you know, there's like 2 American cruisers with torpedoes, 1, I think, maybe. So, again, you want to make sure that it's applicable to your ship, right? We would never want to select this for a ship without torpedoes. But regardless here, you don't have to choose all the green ones or blue ones. You can choose what you would prefer in that build. And again, this is kind of going on to advanced topics here, but that is what we are looking at. Now, you may be wondering, Aaron, what is this down here? Well, this is your legendary perk. And we're actually going to switch over to our other account to show you guys a trick at the end of this video, which I think I'm going to make in a separate video there. But that is the basics of how to rank up your commanders and what, you know, perks to go down the line and choose. That being said, you don't want to rank up the base commander you initially get. Why? Because it's not necessarily, as we were explaining, right? This perk is essentially useless for American cruisers, or for most cruisers that don't have torpedoes, right? Because the torpedo launcher reload time, it's doing nothing for our boat. So, after you get the base commander, what you're going to want to do is not only, you know, buy crates, obviously, but you're going to want to go to your missions tab here and try to complete your weekly assignments, your weekly boost, right? and your premium supplies. Now, your premium supplies, if you're full free to play, is going to be very difficult to do unless you get the campaigns, etc. But as you can see here, if you win 3 battles at tier 7 with a premium ship, you will get a commander crate. Now, what is a commander crate? Well, we actually got one for completing our account to level 7. So we're going to go ahead and open that up. And what did we get? We got Dennis Boyd for the British here. So what does that mean? We've got a new commander obtained. And as we saw earlier, we didn't have any. So now that we go over to the British here, we now have Mr. Dennis Boyd. These crates are actually very important. And again, pay attention to that, because at the end of this video, we're going to show you guys a little trick for my veteran players on how to upgrade your commanders to level Legend 6 or level Legend 4. It doesn't have to be 16, but Legend 4 in order to get more commanders. And I've showed this trick before, so if you've watched me for a good amount of time, you know what I'm talking about. But anyway, commander crates are going to be one of the more valuable resources, and another way to get them is to go on over to containers here. And they are available for silver, 10.5 million silver. Now, again, for a newer player, this is going to be a lot of silver. Even with the amount of crates that we opened, I still only have 7.8 million silver. So make sure you're doing any and all missions. The campaigns are a great way to get those. Does it have reward overview? Does it have commander crates? Yeah, so this one is a German commander crate, etc. So the campaign, as we've always mentioned, is a great way to get just a good amount of resources for your account. That and regular crates, get your free daily crate as well. It's going back to the whole wargaming is trying to make money aspect. But beyond that, we're going to go ahead and switch on over to our other account for leveling up the Legend 4 aspect of that crate. But as soon as you get enough Commander XP, you don't want to, as we said earlier, you don't want to really max out this commander here. Oh, and before we do that, I actually want to show you guys another little trick, or something else to avoid doing, right? As you can see here, we have 10,000 Commander XP, and the next level, level 5, requires 11,000. So if you actually can see on the bottom corner here, let me point to that direction. That way. If we were to press X, right? Oh, it actually gives us a little option. Back in the day, it didn't used to give you this option, but you can convert global XP to Commander XP, which is not something you want to do. I know it maybe if you want to utilize this once or twice throughout your career in warships, this might be a good idea. However, global XP, as we mentioned, is one of the most valuable resources in this game. You can get level 7. I think there's a few level 8 ships essentially for free, because you can grind global in this game, and it does take a long time, notably, but you can get pretty decent ships, premium ships, albeit, for this green resource here. On top of that, the green resource allows you to skip past certain lines to unlock those ships. So as you can see here, in order to get the first module unlocked here for this level 1 ship, we would either need to grind the ship, play it, etc., and get ship XP, or we could boost it with global XP. So global is going to be one of your most valuable resources, and you don't want to accidentally spend it upgrading a commander, especially a level 4 base commander, without a necessarily highly focalized, I guess is the right word for that, I'm blanking, skill set again. But like I said, we're going to go ahead and hop on over to our other account. Let's go ahead and do that now. All right, guys, we are back on our main account here, and I'm going to show you guys the trick to help you get more commanders at Legend 4 and more universal combinations for the commanders that don't have a commander in the store tab. So for this little trick per se, it's going to have to be a commander that is in the store. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to rank up one commander that is in the store there to rank 6. Well, it doesn't have to be 16, but it has to be Legend 4. So for the sake of argument, because Norman Scott was my first 16 Legend 4 here, and again, it doesn't have to be 16, but it does have to be Legend 4. We're going to look at Mr. Norman Scott here, and let's look at Willis Lee, for example. Willis Lee, as you can see, has 8 of these gold accommodations, which will get him up to rank 3. But if we look at Willis Lee in the store under the Commanders tab, right? If we were to spend an additional 900,000 Commander XP to get a personal accommodation, we would get the gold one, which is the personal accommodation, which can only be used for Willis Lee. Now, let's go ahead and look at Mr. Norman Scott. If we go down to Norman Scott, you can see that we get a blue one. The blue one, which is arguably one of the most valuable resources in this game, is a universal accommodation. So we're going to go ahead and do it just to show you guys that we're going to get another one here. But as soon as we do that, and you are spending 900,000 Commander XP, and be careful because once you run out of Commander XP, the game starts to dip into your global XP, as we mentioned earlier. But we get an additional universal accommodation. The reason the universal accommodations are so important is you can use them on any commander. For example, these pay-to-win commanders here that you see are not available in the store. So in order to rank them up, their legend perk, any further, you will have to use universal accommodations. So that is why it is important to save your commander XP and to get as many base commanders, ones that are available in the store, up to Legend 4. Because as soon as you buy those commander crates, we're going to go ahead and do that on this account, in the containers tab, right? Once you start to, the more you play, the more silver you get, the more commanders you will get. Once you get those commander crates, we're going to open them just to see if we get any duplicates here. I like how they tell us. So we have 12 commander crates. We're just going to open them all. C, hold open container, hold open all by type. So we've got 12 here. So we have, perfect example. We got D. Fournette, Von Essen, Cunningham, Yamamoto, Kondo, Geisler, Carita, Vion, and 4 universal accommodations. So it's kind of like a snowball effect, right? It's like investing in your 401k. As soon as you start to get 2, 3, 4 commanders up to Legend 4, the more universal accommodations you get. The more universal accommodations you get, you can rank up all of those commanders. So it's a good idea to get 1 or 2 up to Legend 4 and then just abuse that system, right? Saving up commander XP and using those and buying those commanders in the store. But that is the little trick on the commanders, and that was a little kind of intro for my newer players necessarily not to spend all of their resources on the base or the jack of all trades commander in your early goings. So like I said, figure out what line you want to play, cruisers, destroyers, battleships, and then kind of upgrade that commander there. So we will do Azure Lane Graph Speed here up a good portion of the way. And once you get to rank 7, you also will have to use promotion orders. That is kind of another just resource that Wargaming is going to, they've added into the game for there's so many resources in this game, but here we will go ahead and unlock that. And I actually want to do this here because, as you guys can see, unlocking your commander to rank 7 will unlock an inspiration slot, and this is what we were kind of talking about earlier. We can select any commander here, and its main perk, right? For example, William Sims is kind of a very common one, will give us added HP per tier. So this is kind of where you can get into your specialized builds, but this is kind of going, beyond base level, so I don't want to get too much into deep, detail. But for example, she's a cruiser commander, so I would want to use something that is a little more relative to cruisers, like rudder shift time or reload for cruisers. But you can choose any number of commanders. A very common one is for destroyers and for added concealment, right? Because destroyers, you typically want them to be stealthy. Now, a lot of players use double concealment, and I think that those players are typically trash, but no, I use double concealment for certain builds. But and again, this is kind of where we go into the very specialized, unique builds, which we're going to talk about in a different video. But that is how to upgrade, rank up your commanders, and just kind of all about commanders there. As you can see, once you get down towards rank 14 and 15, you will actually need insignias. And besides promotion orders being one of the most rare resources, insignias and universal combinations are probably the most rare resources in the game. I think insignias take the cake on that one, but I hope that didn't confuse too many of you. I know I kind of blabbered on there for a little bit, but that is all about commanders. You know, slowly rank them up, figure out what lines you like, and then kind of focus on those commanders. For example, if I was going for American cruisers, right? That was one of my first lines. I wouldn't want to focus on George Dewey. I would want to focus on Norman Scott, right? Norman Scott has a good amount of the offensive perks, which lend better to the American cruisers. The American cruisers aren't necessarily the most agile ships, so the defensive perks don't don't necessarily work as well. They certainly can, and there's a great, I guess, commander in Shelley Beepley that really only has defensive. As you can see, this is more of a defensive type build or commander. We said that there was two, typically an offensive and a defensive, but she works really well in that regard. But yeah, again, that's kind of for a different video. We're getting into deep detail, but I hope that was informative for you guys. I know I tend to blabber on here, but if you're a newer player and that helps you, please let me know in the comments below. And again, if you guys like me doing these videos, just leave a like, a comment, subscription. Subscribe to my OnlyFans as well. It does, you know, it does help me afford crates for the other account. No, I'm just kidding. I love you guys. Have a great day. Let me know if that helped. I'm out. Peace.